Now
on News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
O'Connor and Company.
It's 6:06. It's O'Connor and Company on this Thursday morning, a busy one, too. Later on in the program, we're going to speak with a plastic surgeon about what the heck that was on Joe Biden's chin as he was greeting reporters. Yes. Did you see he had two little, silicone balls or something at the bottom of his chin? It was
Could they
odd.
be growths?
I don't know what it is. It could be growths. No. It could be that series Botched, where the plastic surgeons.
Yeah, I love that show.
He may have had chin implants and it's gone wrong or something. I don't know.
It's like the butt implants that you flip around. All right, yeah, don't worry. Don't just go Google it, folks. It's kind of crazy to see.
At 6:35, we'll speak with Henry Eickelberg to discuss his run for Loudoun Treasurer. 8:05, Matt Foldy, who was there at the Capitol yesterday during the darkest day in American history, the Hamassurrection. I'm Larry O'Connor. That's Patrice Onwuka. Neither of us have butt or chin implants, by the way.
No, we don't. We're all natural here.
Actually, I'm not 100% natural. Let me just say.
I am.
A little hair situation.
Well, I mean, that's real hair.
I had jaw surgery when I was 20 years
unless
old.
It was to enhance your jaw and have.
It was orthodontic. All right.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
We like to bear it all here, as it were. Bart Marcois writes at the American Greatness website, which is one of our favorites, and he also is a Fairfax County resident. And he brings a troubling story to our attention, Bart. Although it's funny, it's like, wow, this is really disconcerting. It shouldn't be. It should be a slam dunk, right? Rules are rules. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me on, Larry and Patrice. It's a pleasure.
So, Bart, we all know that when you run for office, there's a process to get on the ballot. One of those processes is to get petitions, right? You go around to your neighbors. That's how we can qualify people for a ballot. And you get a certain number of signatures, and that gets you on. It's usually a low threshold, but it's an important process to go through. What's happening in Fairfax County with that process?
Well, it is so troubling because to my knowledge, it's never happened before that they have applied this process unequally. There's a school board candidate who has circulated her petitions, and usually, I've done this before, I've circulated petitions for people. You stand in front of the grocery store, you go to the Giant, and you ask people, my friend wants to get on the ballot, or I support this person, wants to get on the ballot. Will you sign? Are you a registered voter? And they say yes. And the rules are very simple. They sign their name, they have to date it, and they have to be registered voters. And she needed 125 signatures, and so she went out and she got about 125 signatures. Some of them were disqualified. Smart people get 250 or 300 if they need 125, because they know that some of the signatures will be disqualified. The county clerk disqualified signatures down to exactly 125, and then wrote 125 at the bottom and certified the petitions. But at least 2 of her petitions did not follow the rules, and he should have thrown out 2 of those petitions, which contained a total of 17 signatures. She did not get her required 125 signatures, and she needs to be thrown off the ballot.
Well, Bart, I mean, it seems like common sense, and I would think playing by the rules and ensuring that the rules, everybody follows the rules, is what we expect in our elections. And then when you question those who are not following the rules, somehow you're the bad guy. Do you think this is a widespread problem, or is it just limited to this candidate in this race?
I have to think it's a widespread problem, because we only found out because some alert voters went in and asked to see the petitions and said, wait a minute, where are the rules being applied here? And they demanded to see them. And the Fairfax County, I forgot to mention an important part. She is a Democrat. You could not have figured that out by the fact that they're not following the rules. It's the same issue as the one you're discussing also today, the Capitol riot. Either the rules apply or they don't. And I think that they must be doing it to others. The voters came in. Fairfax County Republican Party filed a lawsuit on the 6 signatures that did not have dates on them. Why does that matter? Well, first of all, it matters because the law says it matters.
Right.
But the reason for that is if the signatures aren't dated, each of these petitions has to be notarized, and the notary has to say, yes, this person who says I was the petition circulator is this person, and she's sitting in front of me, and she signed this form in front of me, and I saw all these signatures on the page. Well, if they're not dated, they could have been added after the notary notarized it. That was the original issue. Well, the judge took that and he said, you know what? The law allows me discretion whether or not to rule on this or kick it to the electoral board. I'm going to kick this to the electoral board. Mm-hmm. And in discovery in that legal case, they found, hey, there's a whole nother petition page that doesn't have her home address written on the front properly. Well, the law says specifically not having the correct address on the front of the petition is a material omission, and it invalidates that petition. And that one has to be ruled on. So I think Fairfax County has filed again to go before the judge because they don't trust the electoral board to have the backbone to apply the law. They think they fear that the electoral board has been silent, and they fear that they're not going to do anything. And in the article, I named the members of the electoral board.
Yeah. And so now this is this has to do with the candidate Marcia St. John Cunning, right? Franconia District for School Board in Fairfax County. And the Fairfax County Registrar, Eric Spicer, this is ultimately his responsibility. His job is to check these things. And we hear about this all the time. You hear about ballot measures not making it to the final ballot because too many too many signatures have been disqualified from the petitions. It's a standard procedure to audit these petitions and ensure that they got the requisite number. And if they don't, sorry, those are the rules. That's the law. Where has Mr. Spicer come down on this? The registrar, it seems like it's a slam dunk. You didn't provide the signatures. Your name won't be on the ballot.
He's hiding. He will not answer any inquiries. He has said absolutely nothing. He certified it. I think it was a fraudulent certification, and now he's not hiding. You know who made a political career based on challenging ballot signatures on the petitions for his political opponents was Barack Hussein Obama. And he said, you know, if they can't even organize a petition drive, how can they govern effectively? Yeah. You know?
That's right. I remember that. All right. So, Bart, one last question here, and we're right up against it. Bart Marcois is our guest, American Greatness in Fairfax County. People are voting already. The ballots are done. They're out there. What's the remedy at this point?
The remedy is the electoral board or a judge issues a decree that says this person was not allowed to be on the ballot, and any votes cast for her don't matter because she was not supposed to be there.
Oh, but what a can of worms, because then you'll get the lawsuits of disenfranchisement, and then you'll get a judge saying, well, clearly this is who they wanted to vote for, so even if she shouldn't have been on the ballot, we should let it go. Oh, it's a mess. This is why we have rules.
So vote for her opponent.
Yeah.
His name is Kevin Pinkney, and I don't know him. So this isn't about him, but vote for that guy.
He followed the rules.
Followed the rules.
Yeah. He followed the rules. All right, Bart Marcois, we'll leave it at that.
Thank you.
Once again, we have to ask Merrick Garland. You know, he keeps saying there aren't two sets of rules, so let's apply the rules.
WMAL.
Making sense of the news.
Live
from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios.
Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
Later this morning on the Chris Plant Show, American college campuses are hotbeds of genocidal Jew hatred. 9 a.m. on WMAL.
That Chris Plant is a funny guy.
He's hilarious.
He's got its fine show there, 9 a.m. until noon. Yesterday during this program, you heard our traffic reports every 10 minutes, first on the fives, not second, first on the fives. And you heard the nightmare over at I-270 where there was a police action because of an officer down. We've got more details about this. The officer down is Montgomery County Police Sergeant Patrick Koepp. And it turns out from the incident yesterday on 270 that he has lost the use of both of his legs. He was hit by a driver. There was a high-speed pursuit. This guy, this driver, a 19-year-old, was speeding, going 136 miles an hour. He was doing, he had previously been arrested doing 136 miles an hour in a 55 zone. He's been arrested for reckless driving before. In fact, the driver, Rafael Mayorga, I'm sorry, did I call him a driver? I meant to call him an attempted murderer.
Exactly.
Attempted murderer Rafael Mayorga, 19-year-old driver on I-270. Not only has he been arrested before for reckless driving, but he was arrested by this man before, by Sergeant Patrick Koepp. There is some suggestion that this was done on purpose because Mayorga recognized the police officer. He deliberately hit him and drove over him. It's a horrendous, despicable story, obviously, and our prayers are with Sergeant Koepp and his family, and by extension, all Montgomery County police officers, because this is another example of the elected officials in Montgomery County further undermining the authority of the police. It didn't just end with the reckless, dangerous sanctuary city policies that would undermine the police's effort to arrest the bad guys and put them in jail, because these are people who shouldn't have been here in the first place, should be deported, and Montgomery County elected officials protected them from the law and let them back into the community. But it's also an example of the soft-on-crime policies that Democrats embrace, especially in a place like Montgomery County, where a 19-year-old could be arrested for driving 136 in a 55 zone and be back out on the street driving recklessly again so he could actually deliberately go after the cop that got him in the first place. And it should be noted, Rafael Mayorga's immigration and citizen status is not present in any of the articles locally here about this story.
I'm absolutely going through to see what I can gather about this young man. Can we stop calling him a teen? I know it's like 19, but he's older than 18. He is an adult.
Yes.
He knows what he's doing, and obviously he has a criminal record, that supports that. Listen, you can make better decisions. You can make bad choices and be at one time and then turn your life around. But this young man doesn't seem to be on that path. And it's just sad. My heart and my prayers go out to the family of this officer and to him, and hopefully that he's going to be able to make a recovery from this. But again, we need to start cracking down, frankly, on these young adults who their behavior is reckless. Their behavior, they have no regard for life. And whether you are a young person behind the wheel driving recklessly, doing donuts on a busy highway, driving drunk, or grabbing a gun and choosing to commit crimes and carjack, we need to crack down, not give them a free pass.
That's right. And that's exactly what this person was given, Rafael Mayorga. He would bait officers into chasing him, and like it was some video game. He would run red lights. He would do donuts. Let me just be clear. And again, this goes out to everyone who lives or works or drives through Montgomery County, so you know exactly what that region of this area is like. And it goes to every police officer and their wives and their children and their husbands and their children who have to deal with this and deal with the elected officials at the state's attorney's office as well as at the county counsel's office. This man, Rafael Mayorga, was arrested in April of 2021 for these high-speed chases. He was arrested in April of 2023. That's just 5 months ago. And he was back out on the street yesterday so he could run over this police officer. Yes, the criminals are at fault.
Yeah.
But so are the elected officials who empower them. Speaking of local coverage of news events, the Washington Post, well, they sort of gave up on that years ago. That's why we're here for you.
Yeah.
But their focus on basically being an anti-Republican, anti-Trump newspaper doesn't seem to be paying off either. You know, that whole democracy dies in darkness thing. It's not selling any papers. They are on track to lose about $100 million, and
Oof.
they've lost 500,000 subscribers lately. But their latest subscription offer is pretty amazing. It popped up on my X.com feed. Washington Post, uncover the world's best news coverage for free. They're giving
so
away.
They're giving out the news for free?
They are giving away 4 weeks of the Washington Post, which normally would be $12. Now, that $3 a week would have been their normal charge.
Sheesh, that's cheap.
The Washington Post is now offering a special deal for you. You can get 4 weeks of the Washington Post for free. They are literally giving it away. And I
people
guess
still don't want it.
Well, I think what they try to do is this is one of those bait and switch things where they give it to you, and then after the 4 weeks, they'll charge you, like $1,000 a year for it or something stupid like that. But they're in deep trouble. I mean, generally speaking, when you used to charge for your product and now you're begging people to take it for free, it means your business isn't doing well.
Well, and this follows on news that last week they're going to be cutting staff pretty substantially. Over 240 people are going to get the axe, according to their interim CEO in a memo last week on Tuesday. Yeah. So they're hurting. And even giving the paper away for free doesn't help, which I would think should be a market signal that the content that you're putting out, the opinions that you're putting out, the reporting that you're doing is not what the people want. So maybe you need to think through it and figure out another way forward. And you said it well. Like Washington Post should at least cover some local news. At best, they throw in a couple of local restaurant reviews. That's the most you get of local news in this area.
Well, let me see here. Yesterday's Washington Post headline is "Hospital Strike Kills Hundreds." We saw the footage. I don't even know if the hospital got hit, right? It was the parking lot. And the claim that hundreds were killed, that actually comes from the terrorist group Hamas. There's no independent verification of that. So, I mean, it's shocking that they're not doing better considering they're literally just printing terrorist propaganda.
Is that called fake news?
No, it's not fake. It's propaganda. Totally different.
Propaganda. Okay.
6:30.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station.
Making sense of the news.
News Talk 105.9.
New now
On News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
O'Connor and Company.
A very busy Thursday morning here as we continue to cover the aftermath of that horrific attack on a police officer in Montgomery County yesterday, and why that person was out on the streets to wreak such havoc is still an unknown. Well, it is a known. It's criminal justice reform and equity played out by your elected officials. We're also covering the Hamas-surrection that we saw yesterday in the Cannon Building at 8:05. Matt Foldy, a journalist, was on the scene, and he'll give us a blow-by-blow account. It was all inspired, though, by the heated, divisive, and anti-Semitic rhetoric of Rashida Tlaib, a sitting member in good standing of the Democrat Party in the House of Representatives. I'm Larry O'Connor, and that is Patrice Onwuka. Good morning, Patrice.
Good morning, Larry.
I want you to be a professional athlete so I can say,
really?
like, now batting. Number 3, the shortstop, Patrice Onwuka. It's just a great...
If only I was athletic at all.
All right, we'll work on that. Joining us right now is the candidate for treasurer in Loudoun County, a very important position in county politics, and Henry Eickelberg is more than experienced and more than qualified for the job. I got to tell you, Henry Eickelberg, you and Mike Chapman out in Loudoun County have a similar trait. I can't find anyone to say anything bad about you, even off the record. What's that all about?
Yeah, well, before I get to that, Larry, where's my introduction like?
I'm sorry. Now batting, the center fielder, your candidate for treasurer, Henry Eickelberg.
I love it. Yeah. No, I'm very proud of the record that I've accomplished over my career. It's been a real tribute to God and, frankly, to my wife, who's put up with a lot of me not being home.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe she'd say that was a good thing, but
well, yeah,
it's been great.
You're an attorney. You're a certified public accountant. You've been very effective in the private sector, and now I want you to tell me how you can take your experience and your knowledge and your common sense to the very critical job of treasurer of Loudoun County.
Yeah, thanks. So Willie Sutton said when they asked about banks, why do you rob them? He said that's because that's where the money is. This is a $2 billion enterprise. We hold all of the tax dollars. We have, you're going to vote for senators, you're going to vote for delegates, supervisors, and so forth. But you are not going to have as many interactions with those great candidates that we've got that you will have with the treasurer's office. So it is all about customer service. It is all about prudent management. And I have the experience to do that. And I'm really excited to have that opportunity. And Larry, I'm looking forward to it. Throw me in, Coach. I'm ready to go.
All right. Well, Henry, I mean, it looks like your experience certainly is very strong, and you've managed budget portfolios that were far bigger than what you would be managing in this role. But your opponent, interestingly, he most recently came out of the prosecutor's office. He seems to have his resume seems to be pretty thin. Let's see. His background doesn't hold much other than him saying, "Well, I'm familiar with investments." Is this the kind of person that the residents should be putting their trust for their tax dollars in? And what's your advantage over him?
Yeah, Patrice, I really, first off, I want to keep the conversation, on the facts. And the facts are that I've got experience, and the gentleman that's running does not, by his own admission. He talked about needing to potentially hire an advisor to lean on. I think that's what the voters are going to do, is they want someone they can lean on, and I want to be that person.
So, generally speaking, the role of treasurer hasn't and certainly shouldn't be a partisan political issue, right? I mean, dollars and cents, decimal points, math, and serving the people of the county with good service, that's nonpartisan. Right. But politics has creeped into this position in various other jurisdictions. Are you concerned that without the qualifications, your opponent might actually let me rephrase the question. Is there a danger that the role of treasurer of Loudoun County could become politicized and an activist could get in there and sort of use that position for political purposes instead of what it was meant to do? We've seen that with the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office.
Well, I mean, Patrice said it a second ago. He's coming out of the Commonwealth Attorney's Office. So, are we going to take the same political discourse and move that to an office which is really about safety, security, and customer service of our tax dollars? I would hope not.
Yeah.
I would hope not. But I'm running a race, and he's got to run his own race. But my concern is exactly what you said, Larry, is that we're going to turn around and we're going to be making all kinds of investments that people are scratching their heads about.
Well, another follow-up on this, because we've seen incredible growth in Loudoun County. The school system has grown quite a bit. The costs are up. The county supervisors say the only response is to raise taxes. That's a lot of money flowing back and forth. There's a lot of expenses. The county is extended right now. What is your role in Loudoun County in terms of bonds, in terms of investments? What is that job and how it relates to what the actual costs and potential debt that the county could be incurring?
Right. So the Board of Supervisors, they set the expenditures. Then I work with Bob Wirtz, who's a commissioner of revenue, who's a great guy. I'm looking forward to working with Bob. We work very closely together to go out and get the revenue. So the supervisors set the tax rates. They tell us where to go get the money, and then it's our job as administrators to go out and fiduciaries to go out and do that and then manage it. They spend it. To your point, the bond rating is a multi-factor rating that's done by three independent organizations, and they look at a variety of factors, and one of them, an important one, is the quality of the people that are running the money. And I think that speaks again to why you need to have somebody in the office that the bond rating agencies say, hey, you know what, we got credit, but we have confidence and credibility in this individual. If we lose the bond rating, we'll still be able to borrow, but you end up having to pay more and more and more. And right now, like you said, Larry, our taxes since 2016, the expenditures are up, I think, like 70%.
Wow. Yeah.
We pay this school board number $19,903 a student. And I would ask parents, and this isn't the treasurer's job, but that parents ought to say, am I getting value for that amount of money?
Yeah.
And I think those are things that need to be asked. My job as treasurer is to collect the money and manage it.
You know, and just to really quickly, Henry, to that point, I think sometimes people find it hard just to track where all the money is going and the budget line items. Is there something you can do on day one or one in office that would bring some greater transparency and simplicity to the funding, the finances?
Absolutely. I mean, Loudoun County has award-winning reports. They are 200 to 300 pages long.
Yikes.
There's no way. Even look, I've got a lot of education. I've been around numbers. I know how this stuff works. You almost get to the point that this stuff is intentionally opaque. It's like, why talk in jargon? And that's something I'm going to stop. My office will not do that. Roger Zern is our current treasurer. He's done a phenomenal job. 28 years of faithful service to this county, 6 as a supervisor before that. He's endorsing me for this race, and I really hope, one, that people will go out and vote. It is so important. Vote early. You save everybody money by voting early because then they're able to take your name off the list of people that they need to touch, and that saves them money. Please vote early, and please vote Eickelberg for treasurer. You can find me at Eickelberg for VA, and it's either the number 4 FOR or FOUR VA, and that'll take you to Eickelberg for treasurer.
Excellent. We got to leave it there, but listen, Loudoun County, this is not the time for on-the-job training. This is not time for Amateurville. It's time to bring in a qualified individual to continue keeping Loudoun as strong as it is, and that means you need a good treasurer. Henry Eickelberg, thanks for joining us, sir, and good luck with the campaign.
Thanks.
It's 6:45, WMAL traffic and weather every 10 minutes. First on the 5s with Steve Hirschhorn in the sadly, Patrice, we have an update on the rising violent crime in Washington, D.C. We already talked to you earlier in outrage about the fact that this teenager in Montgomery County was out after being arrested twice for reckless driving, and now he has left a Montgomery County police officer paralyzed. Well, let's plow through these 3 latest stories. First, an ex-staffer for D.C. Councilwoman Brianne Nadeau, a Democrat, of course, because it's the D.C. Council, was killed yesterday outside a Safeway in Northwest D.C., 28-year-old Devon Fuller. Also, there was an armed robbery at the D.C. Wharf neighborhood right outside an incredibly expensive restaurant, Philippe Chow. This was caught on security footage where 4 suspected gunmen rushed toward customers as they were leaving the restaurant at 11 p.m. right outside the door. This is, how many millions of dollars, tens and hundreds of millions of dollars shoved onto the wharf area to make it a place where people will go at night to restaurants and bars.
Absolutely.
This is what's happening. And then there was an attempted carjacking by a group of 6 to 7 teenagers trying to take a Chevy Bolt at gunpoint. Really, you're going to go through all this for a Chevy Bolt? But they didn't know how to drive the car. This is one advantage to having an electric vehicle, actually.
Yeah, that's right, if you don't know.
But that's just in one night. One night, Patrice.
Interestingly, the carjacking attempt was literally across the street from my old apartment when I was single.
Oh, wow.
I just went to it is exactly where I would walk and frankly drive my old Honda Accord out every night and every day. It could have been me easily. And I think that's the point here. If you were going into the wharf to have dinner or to hang out with friends, it could be you getting robbed at gunpoint, or if it's you driving through a Tacoma Park neighborhood, very progressive, by the way, liberal neighborhood.
Super
it could
liberal.
Be you in your EV getting carjacked by a bunch of teens, and the common thread here are teens not running amok and no accountability for their actions.
DC is broken. There is no criminal justice system in the District of Columbia that actually arrests and prosecutes criminals. The people who live here are victims. The people who come here to petition their government, as is their constitutional right, are walking victims waiting to happen. The district council is powerless. They have shown that they can do nothing about it. Home rule is a lovely experiment that after many decades has shown that it is a failure, and it's time for Congress to take back their constitutional role to run the District of Columbia. It is 6:54, and you've heard me talking with Julie about her great success with Co-Pair, and it is incredible success. And I can tell you that I had my success with Co-Pair several years ago by losing over 40 pounds in just 4 months. Their approach has gotten them 1,000 reviews with an average of nearly 4.9 out of 5 on internet review outlets. And men, I specifically want to talk to you because we hear Julie's story and it's fantastic, and that's great. But men, don't think for a second that Co-Pair is just for women. And in fact, whenever I'm at the Co-Pair office, I see more men than women there. It is an incredibly powerful system that brings back men to their natural, strong, healthy, lean state that you remember back in your 20s. You need to be that energetic, strong man that you know you are. It's just time to focus and get it done with Co-Pair. They'll help you out better than anyone else.